When Dawson says that, I literally said to the screen, sit down, nerd, sit down, okay? You did not want to find out who did it.
It's like a group project. Pacey did all the work and Dawson just took the A and all the credit.
Meet Sarah and Samantha.
Two cousins obsessed with exploring the vast pop culture landscape, one recommendation at a time.
In each episode, one clueless cousin shares real-time reactions as they navigate the twists and turns of a pop culture topic selected by the other.
From travel to movies,
Little Debbie's to trashy novels,
get ready to eavesdrop on the candid reactions and dynamic conversations you can only have with family.
This is Foreign and Familiar.
Welcome to Foreign and Familiar for the second part of our season 2 finale. Hey, Sarah.
Hey, Sam.
Always lovely to see you. Always
of
amazing.
Course.
This is our first 2-part episode. So we promised at the beginning of this season that it was going to be bigger, bolder, better. And we're trying some new things. We've talked about trying video. We've definitely tried some new Little Debbies. But we are now trying our first 2-part episode.
So previously on Foreign and Familiar, the girls talked Little Debbie's Devil Creams and the first part of Dawson's Creek Season 3. In true 90s fashion, we left it off at a cliffhanger and made you wait an entire week to hear the rest of our discussion, but we are back.
I would just say that I think waiting in between episodes builds character.
I agree. I think it's a lost skill.
Again, this season was stretched from September of 1999 to May of 2000. And so I built so much character as a preteen waiting on pins and needles for months to figure this out. So for all of the people that have successfully waited a week, I'll put a little notch on your belt. Way to go. Way to go.
You did it. Congratulations. Yep. So where we left off last time, we have really been focusing our discussion on Joey Potter, Dawson Leary, and Pacey Witter. At this point in time, they are all relatively unattached, with the exception of Joey, who is just starting this romance with AJ, the college student.
AJ's the worst.
We'll talk about how much we dislike AJ in a moment. The last thing we talked about was everyone coming together to help the grand opening of the Potter bed and breakfast go over smoothly. And at the end, Grams makes a comment, you know you really love someone if you're just content to watch over them while they sleep. So the episode ends with Joey falling asleep on the couch, Pacey covering her with a blanket and just sitting down to watch over her while she sleeps. And I think now we can all agree that there is definitely a romance building here.
The nation collectively sighs and swoons.
Indeed.
When Pacey does that. And yes, at the very least, we know that there are feelings on Pacey's side. They have not been vocalized. We know that the creek's about to get a little muddy because for the first 2.5 seasons, it has been all billed to Joey and Dawson are endgame. So there is a little wrinkle that's coming through. As you said, Sarah, everybody is starting to get along, and Dawson and Joey are really rebuilding their friendship. They're enjoying kind of rekindling what made them friends. And I think that their friendship does seem to thrive with the removal of any type of romantic situation.
Yes.
Meanwhile, Joey is also having fun building and exploring this new friendship with Pacey, because again, they had been very adversarial for the first couple seasons, and now all of a sudden they really are enjoying each other's company, and the three of them hang out a lot. We get into a episode which is probably around homecoming, or it's the spring fling or something like that.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
And Joey is one of the students that's selected to create a mural encapsulating what school spirit means to her.
I mean, even in 2024, you know, we're totally on board with children being in a school building after hours unattended.
I think the episode starts, her and Pacey, it's 10 o'clock at night.
Right.
Like, so we fast forward, the entire school is at the reveal, and Joey gives a little speech about what her inspiration is.
I think it was too cliche.
I really like Joey Potter. I think we've said before, Katie Holmes, who plays Joey Potter, is dynamic, lights up the screen. You can't help but take her in when she's on the screen. This was a miss for me, where it's like, I just thought about what are the things that unite us. So what are that? It's like, okay, it's a school spirit mural. So they do this big reveal, and lo and behold, there's graffiti all over her mural and it's destroyed. And so she's very upset and she runs off crying.
Dawson and Pacey both go after her to a point. She's just kind of like, just let it go.
They have very different philosophies. Pacey says right away, this is targeted, this is personal. Dawson says, it's not personal at all, Pacey. Somebody just picked a random mural to destroy. Again, Dawson just being Dawson, you're on. That doesn't even make sense. And that's what Pacey says. Pacey says in the moment, he says, why would they just pick Joey's then?
Right.
You do not know what you're talking about. And so Joey basically says, you guys both have tons of opinions. I don't want to hear it. I'm going to go by myself, which is good. She is not a damsel in distress at all.
No.
And I think she does do a nice job with both of them through the remainder of the season, being like, I need my space. This is ridiculous. I'm not this center thing for you guys to try to focus on. But they do have a very, very different approach. So Dawson ends up getting the keys to the school, gives them to Joey, and basically says, you need to go in and fix your mural. You need to go in and fix it. And Joey's response is, I don't want to do that. I already did it. And Dawson's like, if you want to let the bad guys win then, Joey, I guess then that's what you're going to do. You know, he's so lame. He's so lame.
Pacey's response, though, multiple parts here to his response. But the first thing is that he has identified the school bully, Matt Caulfield, as the most likely suspect to have ruined Joey's mural. So he just goes after him in the cafeteria and says, I'm pretty sure I know what you did. You need to fix it. Own up to it. Apologize, or I'm going to beat you up.
Pacey is such a man.
I loved it.
He has no problem stepping to anybody at all. He has no problem.
And then he follows through with it, too. It's not just an empty threat. He does then go after him in the parking lot later and says, did you apologize? If not, time's up.
And he punches him. They get in a fight in the parking lot. Pacey and Matt Caulfield are in the principal's office. And then somehow Dawson finds his way into the principal's office because he's the worst.
Of course he's there.
They try to figure out what's going on. And Matt Caulfield slips and says, who cares about some mural that featured Chinese letters? And Dawson jumps in and says, if you hadn't seen the mural, how did you know what it was? And it like catches him. When Dawson says that, I literally said to the screen, sit down, nerd. Sit down, okay? You did not want to find out who did it.
It's like a group project. Pacey did all the work and Dawson just took the A and all the credit.
Whatever. Dawson was totally on the wrong side of it. But I will say this. Joey is kind of mortified and is upset that Pacey fought on her behalf. And Dawson does go to Joey and does say at this point in time, Pacey cares about you. He's a good friend. Do you honestly think, Joey, like just because you don't approve of the way he went about it, you cannot tell me that you think that he's just on this crusade because he's chasing a masculinity boost? Joey and Pacey are able to reconcile. Clearly, there's a good friendship going and that they've all been enjoying each other's company over the course of junior year.
Right. I agree with that.
Meanwhile, then, how we close out this episode, or maybe it's the episode after there, is Pacey. I'm like, I can't even. Pacey, it's one of the most romantic gestures. Like I said, Pacey Witter has ruined me for men from the time I was 13 years old. He buys her a wall in downtown Cape Side
to then paint whatever she wants on it.
Should we play it?
Let's just play it.
Think back with me for just a second. Do you remember how this whole thing started? It started with a girl, a wall, and a paintbrush.
You bought me a paintbrush.
No, lame-o. I stole this from your permanent collection.
You bought me a wall?
Not bought. Rented. And this thing didn't come cheap either. It cost me $100.
You bought me a wall?
Look, it's a limited time offer, so you should get cracking.
Pacey, did you fail to notice the size of this thing?
I just thought your next endeavor should be bigger and better than your last one. It's important that you keep on growing both as a person and as an artist. I also got you this. Now, I know it's not going to cover the whole thing, but as the saying goes, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step.
I'm going to need your help on this one.
Oh, no. Not this time. You're on your own, sister.
Sam, I know we talked about Jim Halpert buying Pam a house this season. This is completely different and so much better.
Yes, and we have gone through. Go back and listen to the Jim Halpert is trash episode. This is exactly, not only does he do this, he tells her, I want to challenge you as a person. You have to keep growing. Yes, you had a mural, but I believe you can fill this wall. And what you will find with Pacey Witter is, again, he is always helping her reach her goals, helping her be, and that is through the rest of the entire series. It is not only in this moment. It's just, I like at 25 years later, I still just don't have the words for it. And it gets even better as we keep going through the season.
Right.
Let's kick it to break real quick, and then we're going to get right into the meat of season 3. What we have put in 16 episodes for. These last 8 are wild and some of the best teen television that has ever been produced, ever.
Yeah, we'll be back and buckle up because it's going to be a wild ride. All right, we are back talking about season 3 of Dawson's Creek. When we left off, Pacey bought Joey a wall to help her grow as an artist and as a person. Let's continue our discussion. Unfortunately, now, Sam, we have to talk about somebody that we don't like, and that is AJ, Joey's college boyfriend. I don't know that they have a label, love interest. I'm not sure what to call him, but he is getting some sort of award. He's been selected to read a piece of his work and has asked Joey to come up to Boston to attend that ceremony with him. So she hops on a train and heads up to Boston for a few days.
Pacey drops her off at the train station, and he is a little bit hot under the collar. Pacey, I think, says a couple times, you don't have to go. You don't have to go if you don't want to. She gets to Boston in the train station, and she sees a sign that says Potter, Joseph, which is a throwback to how AJ and Joey end up meeting. They accidentally get paired together on a high school visit because the computer cut off Josephine to Joseph. So he calls her Potter, Joseph, and says it just like that, like says the word comma out loud throughout the entirety of their courtship. So she gets all excited. She sees this sign and the crowd clears.
And it is a girl holding it in roller skates. Morgan is her name. Okay. She is AJ's best friend. He's busy, so he sent Morgan to pick Joey up from the train station. And of course, the best way to then get to where AJ is to make Joey roller skate around town carrying all of her luggage.
Yeah, she has bags. Okay?
Right. She's there for a couple of days.
Yeah, she goes up there. She has bags. He says because he has to what?
He has to pick which piece of writing he's going to read.
Whatever.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm not buying it.
So then Joey ends up in the dorm with AJ, and Morgan and AJ's dynamic is Joey and Dawson's dynamic. Yes. To the point where she says things like, remember in 3rd grade when you accidentally, they lay it on pretty thick.
Right. It's pretty obnoxious.
And at some point, Joey gets this bright idea to say, you know what, Morgan? You're his oldest friend. You should come too. And it sounds really stupid. The only thing you can think of is that she sees the relationship with her and Dawson, and she's currently with AJ, and she's currently friends with Dawson. I think there's some projection in there where she gets a little bit dumb in that.
Morgan, AJ, and Joey all end up going to...
Real quick, though, can we also talk about what a nervous little douche this guy is?
Oh, of course.
And this is over the course of their entire relationship.
Yeah.
Is all, oh, I'm so dumb. I'm the dumbest one here. I can't even believe it. Must have been a mistake that they picked me. He does that. And she is always having to affirm him non-stop that he's the smartest guy in the room, that he deserves the awards. I'm exhausted for Joey.
And he always looks like he's been dropped into the middle of a foreign country with like no resources. Like his eyes are always real big and his mouth's kind of open. Like, I don't know what's going on around me.
Could you imagine him in Tokyo Station?
That's exactly what it looks like. It looks like he was like kidnapped and then just put in Tokyo Station with no like reference material.
It's like
that's probably what we looked like in Tokyo Station.
Yeah, but it's like this guy is so coddled.
I know.
Long story short, so that we do not have to belabor too long here.
Yes.
The three of them go to this award ceremony. AJ selects the poem he's going to read. And what do you know? The girl that he is describing in the poem isn't Joey, it's Morgan. Lines up to a T. They're staring at each other while he's reading this. And Joey the light bulb goes on and she's like, oh, I shouldn't be here.
Yes. So after they leave, Joey then says, oh, AJ, I want to go back to your room. And he, again, just looks like he has no idea what language she's speaking. So she clarifies, no, I want to go back to your room by myself because you are clearly in love with Morgan and you need to go be with her right now.
She's crying. She's upset. And she decides she's going to take the train back home. And so she takes the train back home. She needs a ride home. So she calls
Pacey,
Witter.
Of course. It's the middle of the night, and Pacey, of course, saves the day.
This is where it builds up. One of the best moments of season 3. They're on the drive home. She's upset, and Pacey is saying, I don't know why you're so upset. If he doesn't realize how wonderful you are, screw him. Like, you've only been dating him a little bit. And she says, there have only been 2 people that know me. And she's like, Dawson and Pacey cuts in and says, this guy AJ didn't know you. He didn't know you. And let's just roll the clip. Let's just roll the clip.
I was going to say you, Pacey.
Okay.
Have you totally lost it?
Totally. But, all right, what did you mean by that?
Oh, what?
About me knowing you better than anybody else.
Exactly what I said, Pacey. You know me, okay? In a way that nobody else besides Dawson ever has.
We're not talking about Dawson right now. We're talking about me. I mean, you can't keep on doing this to me, Potter.
What? What, so I count on you and I tell you secrets
and you
suddenly
call me in the middle of the night to pick you up. Why?
I'm sorry that I called. I thought that
I'm not mad that you called me. I just want to know why you called me.
You were the first person that I thought of, Pacey.
And what does that mean, Joe?
It means that... I guess it means that I can talk to you and that you're there for me.
Don't you ever get tired of talking?
No,
well,
I don't get tired. Well, I don't
want to talk anymore.
What are you trying to say,
Joe,
Pacey? Why are we standing?
I don't comfort. Take comfort wherever you can. You can.
He plants such a good smooch on her.
He does. And that is the end of that episode. So talk about a cliffhanger.
I love that scene for so many different reasons.
It's such a good one. It's so good.
What I like about Pacey, what keeps coming back to me is I find him to be such a healthy man, let's say. Okay, so he knows what he wants. He has no issue vocalizing that. I love that in this conversation, he finally reaches his breaking point and is asking her for clarity. That's all he's trying to say is, what does this mean? What do you think about this? I love that in the conversation when she's trying to take it to a different area and says, well, I'm sorry that I called you. And he knows her so well. He just assures her, I'm not mad that you called me. You know, he would pick her up.
Mhm.
He would do, I'm not mad that you call me. I just want to understand what it means, you know?
Yeah.
And he just steps up, and the kiss is so good. And it's what we have been waiting for 18 episodes.
I definitely rewatched that part multiple times. It was so good. And I love that it was very to the point, right? There was no like waxing poetic about feelings. It was just, let's get to it.
I kind of love that I get tired of talking. Like, he's going to do something. He's going to do something.
I get it.
Yeah.
So, moving on. The next episode picks up right where we left off with Joey and Pacey kissing. And then she hits him.
Her reaction is hilarious.
It's really funny.
She just starts hauling off on him and pushing him and basically says, you can't kiss me like that. You can't. Basically, she's telling him, like, I didn't consent to that.
Right.
And this is a really big deal. It's not just a kiss between you and me. And she kind of goes right in. It's like she doesn't even entertain that there could be deeper feeling there. She assigns it to, you have some sort of masculine breakdown where you have to feel like some sort of savior and you want to kiss me, and put it in another direction in the future.
Yeah, so they both kind of go their separate ways.
So Pacey and Joey end up kind of avoiding each other for a little bit. Joey starts talking to Jen a little bit, Michelle Williams, and is so angry that Pacey kissed her. Jen's response is, if this isn't that big of a deal, why are you so angry? Like, kisses happen all the time. Someone can kiss you and you just say, okay, don't kiss me again, and you move on. But, you know, again, Jen is really clocking all of it and is a sounding board for everyone. At this point, it's spring break. So the group decides that they are going to go to Dawson's Aunt Gwen's house for spring break. Sarah, you are just shaking your head in dismay. Aunt Gwen is played by a pre-Modern Family, Julie Bowen. The exposition on her is that she was married and in, I think, a pleasant relationship, but fell in love with somebody else and just completely abandoned her marriage and was with this true love of her life, who then ended up passing away, fell ill, passed away. So, Sarah, how would you describe Aunt Gwen?
Like the dance instructor, Aunt Gwen is nosy and in everybody else's business and seems to have no problem telling them how it should be.
The fascination between these adults in these children's love lives is insanity to me. It's
crazy.
She comes out of nowhere with, here's a photo that I painted of Joey and Dawson when they were 5. It's on canvas in my loft.
Right.
She starts with so explain to me, why aren't you two together? And she's like, pointing at like Dawson and Joey. It's weird. It's
super weird. Even to like remember we used to do karaoke all the time. We have to do karaoke again. Joey and Dawson, you have to sing the same song that you've always sang as children. Like, she's just really pushing these two together.
Sleeping arrangements. Of course, we have sleeping arrangement issues. Dawson, Will, and Andy are sleeping in sleeping bags on the floor, which only leaves Pacey in the bed. And the only place Joey can sleep then is in the bed. Pacey tries to wake up Dawson, and Dawson's like, get on my face, Pace. Just sleep with Joey in the bed. Okay.
Like, do you even really know what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying. And like, as viewers, I'm like, yes, Dawson, yes.
Right.
Andy's sleeping, and Will flat out says, no, I'm not sleeping with Pacey, and I don't know Joey as well. So Joey's like, fine, and she gets all, Pacey, don't get anything. And I just love him. He goes, Joey, get in the bed. And while you're at it, get over yourself. Okay.
Yep.
And he really knows how to handle her in the best way. Like, that is so masculine, and he exerts dominance in a really great way. After that first kiss on the side of the road, she wants to walk home, and he just tells her, get in the car. Like, this is silly. Get in the car. And as somebody that I think can prickle at some of the dominance, I think Pacey just does it in a way where I'm like, I want him to tell me what to do, and I would listen to it. He's got a nice masculine way about him. He just has a lot of honor. He has a code. And he just is like, enough is enough. Just get in the bed and get over yourself. And I love that. I love that. Aunt Gwen is like, well, we can't do karaoke without Dawson and Joey doing their karaoke routine from when they were 5. Again, weird.
Yeah.
Weird. They sing Daydream Believer.
That's it.
Punkies.
That's it.
And
it's so weird.
It is. It is. And it's not the best. Like,
oh, no.
It's not. It's cringe. It's cringe. But I do think that Joey is kind of cringing while they're performing it, but I think Dawson's all in on it, right? So Pacey, rightfully so, gets upset and he walks out, okay? And he's just like, I need to get some air, whatever. She follows him out and he says to her, the thing is it's the history. You guys have your own karaoke routine. You have all these people rooting for you. You have all this history. And there is no way that I can compete with that. And she says to him, Pacey, we're supposed to have our own history.
She mentions that he grazed her arm in bed and it made her feel alive.
After she tells him that, he says to her, Joe, I'm going to kiss you. Okay. So again, he kissed her on the side of the road and she was like, that came out of nowhere, blah, blah, blah. So he's changing his approach a little bit. He's like, you cannot tell me that and not expect me to kiss you. He's like, I'm going to kiss you. I'm going to count to 10 and I'm going to walk and close the gap here. And if you don't want me to kiss you, you're going to have to tell me that you don't want me to kiss you. Okay. And Sarah, I have goosebumps right now. We're talking about this. Okay. He starts counting while he starts closing the gap between them. And he gets to 1. And the look, she looks up at him.
Oh, yeah.
It is electric. It's electric.
I think it was a really good kiss. Another one that I rewatched a couple of times.
I also think it's kind of the first time that she is meeting the intensity back.
Right.
And is like,
I think the first one she was just shocked. And this one she's like totally into. But Aunt Gwen comes out and sees the kiss. Pacey kind of walks away to give Joey and Aunt Gwen their space. And of course, Aunt Gwen has a one-track mind and she was like, well, what about Dawson? Have you thought about Dawson? What does Dawson think about this?
She's like, well, now I know why you and Dawson aren't together.
Ugh.
And she just, and then at some point she's like, you need to know that I'm the last person that would judge you. It's like, that's all you're doing is judging.
Right, like your entire time with these children has been trying to fix them up with each other.
Gwen, you're standing the wrong ship, okay?
Yeah.
You are standing the wrong ship. Get over it. Get over it. Fast forward to the end of the episode. Pacey and Joey are outside again. Everyone's asleep. And they start to have a conversation. And Pacey tells Joey, I can't keep kissing you, Joe. I can't keep kissing you. And Joey says, well, what is that supposed to mean? And what I love about Pacey is he goes, exactly what I just said. He's
so direct.
Yeah. He's like, I can't keep kissing you. I have kissed you twice now. You know how I feel. You know that I'm into this. If we are going to kiss again, you have to be into this. Like, I think that you'll see between now and through the end of this season, he's very clear about what he wants, but he is also very clear that she has the autonomy to make the decision, and he wants her to be fully in on the decision. He doesn't want to be a consolation prize. He doesn't want to start anything if it's not going to be a good relationship. He says to her, if you felt one shred for me the way that I feel for you, we wouldn't even be having this conversation.
Joey kisses him.
And they just make out by the
They just
fire, and
make
it's like
out.
so satisfying. And it's
It
just
is.
like,
It was a good
yes.
one. Yeah.
However, we have about 4 episodes left. And so now we have Pacey and Joey together. But Sarah, let's kick it to break real quick, and then we'll bring through the rest of Dawson's Creek. We'll close out our season finale.
We'll be back.
Welcome back to Foreign and Familiar. Right before break, Pacey and Joey have succumbed to their feelings for each other, and we start the next episode with them really making out quite a bit.
Yeah.
It seems like that's a regular thing that they're doing. They're sneaking around.
I really liked this episode. We get 3 different perspectives of the same day. So this is the day that Pacey is finally ready to christen his boat True Love. So we get his perspective, Joey's, and then finally Dawson's view of the day. I thought it was really cool because we find out more information every single time. Throughout Pacey and Joey's perspective, they're each trying to figure out who's the right person to tell Dawson.
Who do you think should be the one to tell Dawson?
This is tough because Dawson is such a whiny brat. I don't really feel like it should have been as big of a deal as it is. I don't know. Maybe Pacey, because he did ask Pacey to kind of step in when he couldn't. And I feel like Pacey could have been like, hey, you asked me to do this. It shouldn't come as any shock that it turned into something more. I don't know. What do you think?
I think it absolutely should have been Pacey. And I think Pacey wants to tell Dawson as soon as he starts to have feelings for her. And
right.
Because Pacey's a man and he wants to address it. I don't think it's in Pacey's character to let Joey be the one to tell him and then come slinking around like, oh man, I know you talked to Joey, but do you have any questions for me? Like, that's not Pacey.
Right. Dawson ends up finding out not from Pacey or Joey that they are in a relationship, but from Jen, who kind of lets it slip because she assumes that Dawson is an observant person, which is completely wrong. He's so oblivious. She makes a comment about Pacey and Joey, and at that point, Dawson decides to turn on his brain for the first time in probably 17 years and puts the pieces together.
He runs into them because they're arguing on the front lawn. And he says, what are you guys talking about? Dawson says to Pacey and Joey. And Pacey, man that he is, says, us, because there's an us now. Okay?
And then Dawson says that he already knew that and is just the worst.
Loses it. He loses it. And what's unfortunate is Joey does go running after Dawson, leaving Pacey standing on the lawn by himself. Dawson starts just berating Joey and basically saying, how could you do this? He's only after one thing. Pacey's going to expect that you're sleeping with him, which, ew, Dawson, ew, okay?
Yeah, and what a thing to say about the person that's supposedly your best friend.
Right, and there's never any issues on that, and he says to her point blank, you cannot have it both ways. You cannot be friends with me and you cannot be with him. This is ridiculous. Joey, you need to figure it out. He berates her.
These are the types of attitudes and thought processes that I dealt with first graders. It's such an immature way to look at things.
Well, and also, Dawson was running around with Eve.
Right?
At the beginning of
flaunting
this
it in
season.
front of Joey's face.
Joey was with AJ. He didn't have any issues with AJ. I understand the dynamics of it being Pacey and him feeling. And listen, they were sneaking around. They were sneaking around after they get together. I understand that. But Joey ends up going over to Pacey's and says, this has to be over. I can't deal with this. Pacey cries, Sarah. The tears that are rolling down.
Oh, I know. I was
he is
heartbroken.
such a good, I know. And I'm like, I cannot believe it. I cannot believe it. So it's all out in the open. Everything's all broken. Sarah, we just have to get into this next episode. This is going to be, Sarah, not the first, not the second, but the third regatta that this podcast is breaking down. The Cape Side Regatta. Sarah, what is it about us that draws us to intellectual properties and or television and movies that include sailing? That includes
specifically Joshua Jackson in sailing. This is now the second.
We have patterns. We do have patterns. Is it me? No, it is, because they've all been my picks. They've all been my picks. Okay, well, maybe I just need to find, maybe my goal is to be swept away and have some guy show me his love by winning a regatta. Maybe that's the lesson in all this. Anyway.
Maybe you just want to sail a fish restaurant to pay for your vacation.
You know what it is? It's maybe this core Pacey Witter got into my veins. That's exactly what it is.
I think it is.
That's exactly what it is. Because I've picked all of these, and I have picked multiple Joshua. I do love Joshua Jackson because he's Pacey Witter.
Right.
But anyway, there is a regatta, and Pacey is in it. He's sailing. He is carrying the flag of Dawson's parents' restaurant, because that's something that had been established 6 episodes ago. Right. And so what Dawson does, he is such a little, I cannot stand him, is he goes to Joey's sister and has her agree that he's going to fly the Potter B&B flag. So Pacey, of course, sees the Potter bed and breakfast flag and believes that it's a sign that Dawson and Joey are together and reconciling. Dawson's a little bitch.
I mean, and he probably didn't divulge like all of the details, but I just can't, like, as a parent, I feel like if that were my kid, I would have been like, you're on your own. If that's how you want to handle this situation, I'm not helping you. But his dad is helping him in the regatta. But again, everyone bows down to Dawson. Like,
he's coddled.
Yeah,
and I will say this, Joey's sisters know better. She goes, it's free advertising, Joey. It's not my fault. If guys want to fight over you and advertise our B&B for free, I'm like, you live in Cape Side, Massachusetts. Right? Anybody that's there watching the regatta already has a hotel room, or is like, give me a break on that. So,
I know.
Needless to say, they do the regatta, and similar to all of these other ones, it's almost like regattas are written all the same.
It is. There's a tight lead where Pacey is just slightly out ahead of Dawson. Dawson decides to cut him off right at the end so that Pacey has to move out of the way, meaning that Dawson comes in first, but was also disqualified.
Joey says, you're disqualified. You didn't win anything. And I think Dawson's response is, yeah, but Pacey didn't either. He came in third. It's so dumb.
It's so stupid.
Dawson genuinely has a nice guy complex where it's, I'm such a nice guy. Like, I've done nice things for you, so you owe me this. You owe me conversations. You owe me to be my girlfriend. It's that syndrome where it's actually really toxic. And I was just so angry. And I know the end of this season, and I know all this. My blood was boiling. And I'm like, this guy is the worst. One thing I do love about it, though, is Pacey goes right up to him and says, way to go. You're an idiot. Blah, 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 blah. And Dawson says, you think you can compete with me and Joey and all of our history? And I love it. I wrote down the quote. Pacey says, what history? 15 years of watching movies together, followed by a year and a half of turmoil before you drop each other at the first inconvenience? Get real, man.
There is so little, yes, they've been friends for years, but there's so little substance to their friendship. It is just like movies.
Let's bring it home. Last 2 episodes. The first one is the anti-prom. Jack is not given a ticket to the prom at Cape Side High because he would be bringing a male as a date. So Dawson decides that he is going to throw a anti-prom at his parents' restaurant. Everybody's going to come. And Sarah leverages a pact from when him and Joey were 9 years old to guilt trip her into being his date to the prom.
So he guilts her into it.
The reliance on children making decisions when they're children that then you have to hold them to
Right.
when you're an
Oh my
adult
gosh.
is uncomfortable. It is uncomfortable.
I feel like, though, Dawson Leary is one of the few people who would be like, oh, I promised when I was 7 I'd never do that, so I can't. Getting ready for the anti-prom, they decide not to do any of the corsage stuff, but then Dawson whips out these diamond pearl earrings that belong to his mom for Joey to wear that night.
And Joey's so uncomfortable with it.
Right.
She says, I don't know.
It's like he's claiming her. It's gross.
And he's lavishing these gifts on her. And again, I think
Yeah.
the difference is that Joey's always presented as a beautiful girl next door, but tomboy. She's absolutely a tomboy. So the jewelry is not something she would ever select, and it makes her uncomfortable in the moment. I think she says, what if I lose these earrings? These are your mom's earrings. This is so uncomfortable. Meanwhile, they go to the prom. Pacey is there with Andy. Andy doesn't have a date. Pacey and Andy have rekindled and have a friendship going. And so Dawson all night is just saying stuff to Joey like, I can't believe Pacey would have the guts to show his face at my parents' restaurant. He is such a gossipy, petty, sniveling, and he directs all of his ire to Joey because he knows he cannot stand toe-to-toe with Pacey. He absolutely knows that. So he takes the entire situation out on Joey, and he thinks, if I can run Pacey down to Joey, he's just so oblivious that she cares so much about him that it actually makes him less of a desirable suitor because he's doing that.
Oh, of course. Joey and Pacey do get to share a very brief moment on the dance floor, at which point Pacey points to the earrings and says, this isn't you.
Oh, I have the clip.
You
Sarah.
have it? Oh, okay. Well, then I'll let them speak for themselves.
Where did you get those? They're not you.
Why, because I'm just a poor tomboy, or Dawson gave them to me?
Neither. See this? This is you. It's not showy or gaudy. Simple, elegant, beautiful.
My mom's bracelet.
I know.
How do you know?
Well, because you told me 6 months ago. You were wearing that blue sweater, the snowflakes that you have. You were walking down the hallways at school. I was annoying you as per usual. I said, look, Pacey, I just found my mother's bracelet this morning, so why don't you cut me some slack?
Remember that?
I remember everything.
He remembers everything.
He does. And I'm so glad you cut that where you did, because creeping in the background was
Dawson
Dawson
angry.
Leary.
Just watching that clip sent a shiver down my spine. It's so romantic. He loves her so much.
He does. It's so sweet.
That's one of the best lines I remember. And it's not, the delivery isn't creepy. It's a genuine interest in her. It's a genuine interest in her. I mean, get out of my dreams. Get into my car. Like, just Pacey ruins me for men. So
I know.
As you say, Dawson's creeping in the background with that look on his face, which we saw. He sucks. And so he ends up running out. He's super upset. And he, again, starts berating her in public and starts saying, this is unbelievable. And I invited you here. And she says to him, well, we came as friends. And he's like, of course we didn't come as friends. What did you think? That we were just coming as friends?
After you explicitly said it?
He is so manipulative. He's just, it's like the idea of, Like, the horse is out of the barn. These two are into each other already. Okay.
Right.
They're into each other already. There is nothing you can do. If two people want to explore it there is nothing you can do. There's nothing you can do about it.
Right. Exactly.
So what he does, though, is he says he's yelling at her in the street, and then he plants the lamest kiss in the world on her. You literally see her dry up, Sarah. She's like all ready to go for being with Pacey, and you literally see it's like, and I would imagine it's like Gabe from The Office.
Right? Like how every time someone hugs him, they go, ugh.
Yeah, but that's exactly, you literally see her just say, okay. It's at this point, Pacey decides he is going to leave Cape Side for the summer. So Joey confronts Pacey, and she starts with this, oh, you're going to leave when it's tough. You're going to leave when it's tough. And he said, no, it's not. It's just, I'm not going to sit here and watch you and Dawson play the greatest hits over the summer. I'm not going to do that. I finished my boat. I've been really clear. So the episode goes on. She walks past her wall in downtown, and there's a message on the wall.
It says, ask me to stay.
He comes out and he says, I thought about what you said, and I'm not ready to give up on this, but I need to know that you are not ready to give up on this.
Mm-hmm.
And so you need to ask me to stay, and I will stay, and I will stand here with you, and we will navigate this together. Ladies and gentlemen.
Amazing.
Pacey. I mean, but again, it just goes back to him being like, he's very clear on what he wants, and he wants clarity from her, and he wants to know that she's in on it too.
In contrast, Dawson's parents, who had been split up for quite some time, are getting remarried. Dawson's the best man. Joey's the maid of honor. Pacey stops by just to wish them congratulations, and then kind of dips out to avoid any conflict. And Dawson and Joey are finally talking about their feelings.
Dawson is such an ass. I think he flat out says at one point, could you put a smile on, Joey? He's like, you're acting like I'm a consolation prize. If you want to go to Pacey's goodbye party, go. But I thought you were my date to my parents' wedding. And it's just like, I'm just screaming at the television. I'm screaming at the television. What do you think? Like, it's terrible. So it's in this moment where she does put a smile on, but she does find a quiet moment to tell him that if I thought that there was any way that we would be okay, I would have absolutely explored that with Pacey. And quite frankly, I'm a little bit pissed off that I don't get to explore that because you're acting like a child, like an abuser, though. Like, you're acting like both of those things can be true at the same time. You're a child and you're an abuser. So she's at the wedding. Pacey and Joey don't get a goodbye at all. Joey starts crying when her and Dawson are slow dancing. And he's like, why are you crying, Joey? Like, she's really torn up about it. She basically says, oh, I'm not crying. I'm thinking about all the fun things we can do together this summer. And meanwhile, she's bawling while she's singing it. And that's when the light bulb maybe goes on in Dawson's head, where you can kind of see him be like, am I a shithead abuser?
It flickers and then it goes out. It doesn't stay on.
We then get to the most memed. This was a meme before things were memes, Sarah, please.
It was, yeah. So I'm sure for our family listeners, if you've not seen the Crying Dawson meme, it is a classic. We can absolutely put it up on Instagram. There's a lot that is said during this scene. And so there is a meme of all of the things that Dawson says to Joey. And he's essentially saying, I am going to let you go, but you're going to come back, is essentially like the overarching message that he's saying.
He literally says to her, you're free.
You're free. Exactly. So some other cringeworthy moments are because I hate this one, because after you're done dispensing your pleasantries here, you're going to turn around and you're going to walk away from me. Like, that's what she's been trying to do this entire time, but you just won't let her. You've been keeping her captive.
And also she has free will, so she can do whatever she wants to do.
Course.
She actually doesn't even owe you the pleasantries, Dawson. She doesn't even owe you the pleasantries.
Right. Probably the worst thing that has come out of his mouth during this is, I can tell you it's a colossal mistake and all roads lead back to me, but it won't make a difference.
He
How
is
arrogant.
so gross. He is so gross. All roads, and that, you know, just sowing all this doubt. If you have to go figure that out, he's gonna break your heart. He is the classic nice guy syndrome, and it's gross. It's gross. She says to him, I'm going to have to leave because if I don't, I will never know, and I owe it to myself to know. And she does. So she leaves, and then Dawson's cry face. Let me tell you something. We're going to post it on the pod. This is all people were talking about in middle school the day after. This has lived on into eternity. And the only thing that I can think of is it is a punishment that fits the crime of this character, that it is iconic and it has gone into the halls of the crying memes and faces. Like, I think James Vanderbeek said that his daughter is now making fun of him for that. And it's like, you deserve it. You deserve it. Dawson Leary deserves that.
I think as a character, Dawson Leary wants to, you know, he's interested in filmmaking. He wants to make something that people are going to remember. And I think what a cruel punishment it is that this is what he's remembered for.
I'm obsessed.
Yeah.
So Joey runs and she doesn't ask Pacey to stay. Instead, she says that she's in love with him and she wants to go with him. So I like that that's a little bit of a twist. A twist. They get on True Love. They sail off. That's the end of season 3. So what I love about this is that Cousin Husband gets in on it and has some side commentary. So I guess you were out running an errand this morning and Cousin Husband called me and he said, I want to talk about Dawson's Creek. And I said, I cannot say anything bad. Like, I don't want to hear anything bad about Dawson's Creek. And Cousin Husband says, why would you think that I would say anything bad about Dawson's Creek? He goes, I love Pacey Witter. He's like, and he wanted to talk about it with me before you and I talked about it, just so he could say, you know, and then he's like, oh, I said, well, you know, you don't know how it ends. And he goes, no, I've read through the Wikipedia. Like, I know exactly how it ends. So that surprised me that he liked it so much.
I know. And I think that's one of the fun things about the pod is that, you know, there's stuff that we're watching for the pod, but then he gets interested in it.
Pacey and Joey end up together. They stay together through season 4. You know, he continues to just be super supportive of her, whatever their relationship looks like for the remainder of the series. What I think is so interesting about this, and I don't know if you're aware of this, but in the end, it's who is Joey going to be with? Is she going to be with Dawson or is she going to be with Pacey? And I know you haven't gotten there yet, but thoughts on how it works?
I mean, I feel like it has to be Dawson. Like, that's the title of the show, which I hate.
I remember when the finale was on, I think I had just started college, maybe. I mean, it was on for about 6 seasons, and you're watching it, and I felt the same way. I feel like even though they do a pretty good job, like Pacey and Joey, when they break up, while they're always amicable, they don't really bounce. It's not like they're on again, off again. And of course, Joey and Dawson get another run. Joey actually ends up with Pacey in the series finale.
Wild to me.
It is actually insane. It's one of the things you can look at. I think Dawson's Creek just did its 25th anniversary, or there are all these articles that came out in the past year. But the fact that she ends up with Pacey is still considered one of the biggest audibles that a television show has ever called. And they liken it to the only other thing is Monica and Chandler on Friends coming out of nowhere to kind of be the power couple over Ross and Rachel.
Right.
Is for her to end up with Pacey on a show called Dawson's Creek is insanity. And everybody will talk about that right now. Pacey and Joey routinely rank at the very top or near the top of the best teen couples of all time. And honestly, you know, everybody petitioned for it. Katie Holmes petitioned for her to be with Pacey. Joshua Jackson petitioned. James Vanderbeek petitioned for her to be with Pacey. Everybody on the show felt very strongly. But, you know, there's one person that to this day doesn't appreciate it and said as recently as last year, well, they'd be divorced. Do you know who that one holdout is?
I don't.
It's Kevin Williamson, the director.
That's...
you know what it is? It's because he thinks he's Dawson, or like he reflects it in Dawson.
Right.
But the ability for them to read that and move that. So I just do want to say a little bit in closing out, and then we'll get to the questions. I know that this has been a long 2 episodes. Joshua Jackson and Katie Holmes dated in season 1 of Dawson's Creek, which again, there wasn't social media. There wasn't the internet. Nobody knew about that. They are still really friendly to this day. Sometimes we'll see pictures of them out and everybody wants them together in real life, but you can tell the chemistry is likely what really kind of pulled in on season 3. And again, Dawson's Creek is really starting to take its place in the lexicon. Last year, Variety wrote an article titled 20 Years Ago, Dawson's Creek Intro to Love Triangle That Changed Teen Soap Operas Forever. There are think pieces on the love triangle. BuzzFeed does lists of why Pacey is the best. I think Entertainment Weekly just said inside the thrilling, chaotic writer's room of Dawson's Creek. So it really seems like it has held up over time, and it's starting to get a lot of the respect that it deserves. Sarah, what do you think about Dawson's Creek?
I enjoyed it way more than I thought I would. And I think season 3 was a really good place to start because there is so much of the slow burn happening, which is totally my thing. So I really enjoyed it.
Would you continue to watch this?
Definitely. And I think I kind of mentioned that I'm already into more of the show. So I think I will definitely continue. I don't think I'm going to continue binging it like I did for season 3, but off and on, I will for sure pick it back up.
How would you rank it according to a Little Debbie?
I think I am going to go with the Devil Cream. I think it's something that's been around and I don't know why. I've avoided it, I think, and I'm not sure why, because after trying it, it was definitely worthwhile.
I said it's a double-decker fudge round, which is such high praise. And I would say I find it delicious. It's something I always come back to. I have probably only ever seen Dawson's Creek from beginning to end one time, I would say. And it was probably while I was watching it live. I'm likely due for an entire series rewatch. However, I have watched season 3 of Dawson's Creek. I go back and rewatch it every couple years.
Right.
Obviously, earlier in the last episode, I held up my DVD collection of Dawson's Creek season 3. And again, it's only season 3. It's not that I have the whole series on DVD. So I just really enjoyed rewatching this. I enjoyed it. It really held up. It had been a while since I had watched it. And I would just want to say, I know that this is a big commitment, and it's a commitment even to be talking about it. I know that, it's over 2 episodes, and I really appreciate, and it does mean a lot to me that you were willing to tackle this. I'm so glad that you enjoyed it. And I'm really glad this is a very deep cut thing that is very personal to me. And I really don't have a lot of people I can share it with. I have a couple friends that watched Dawson's when we were growing up, and we sometimes will text. It really means a lot to me. So I just want to say I just appreciate it.
Oh yeah. It was so fun. That wraps up not only this episode, but season 2 of our podcast. We'll be taking a little bit of a break while we prep for season 3.
Which we can't wait. We already are cooking up some good stuff. But thanks everybody for listening. Thanks for eavesdropping on us.
If you can't get enough of the Cousin Chronicles, head over to Instagram and follow @FoFamPod for more in-depth info and behind-the-scenes details.
Or email us at foreignfamiliarpod@gmail.com.
Foreign and Familiar is a Flynn & Flynn production.
The theme is Colorful by Allerlie von Nicolai.